You know, I'm on a rant. I had some discussions with white friends of mine, and they repeated, I should say, said things that was very, in my opinion, and I'm quite sure in most black American opinion, was very derogatory towards black people. So, we all know that Will Smith slapped Chris Rock. And one of my white friends, and maybe another one, said, "Why are black people so violent?" This is Eric, and welcome to my show, The Craziness That Lives Inside My Head. When my one white friend said that, I got peeved. I was very peeved. And what peeved me so much is, at my age, they've been saying using that black people are so violent ever since the 60s. Now, don't forget in the 60s we had the Black Panthers and we had the Black Muslims. And they and we all know what happened to the Black Panthers over in California and Angela Davis. Oh, black people so violent, they so this, they so that. But meanwhile, at the same time, you had white groups. I remember was the Student for Democratic Society, SDS, Student for Democratic Society. I don't see nobody say they were violent. And then you had white Catholic blowing up white Protestants over in Ireland. I don't see nobody saying that, saying making that a big statement like that about those people. But every time when blacks do anything that is, in their words, violent, they come up with that statement. Why are black people so violent? So when he came out with that statement, I came back with, well, white Russia is killing white Ukrainians. White people aren't violent? And I'm going to be honest with you. At that moment, I really wanted to disconnect from all my white friends. But then I had to be careful because then that would put me in the same category as them. Just because one bad apple doesn't make all the apples bad. It's because I have a lot of white friends. It's because that one and another white friend, who I'm not a friend that I've stopped talking to because of the constant stereotypical stuff that come out of his mouth. So this one, that I was going to do that. I said, I'm going to stop being his friend, and I was going to tell him right then and there, don't bother me no more, don't call me, don't FaceTime me, but I didn't do that. I didn't do that. I just said to him what I said to you earlier, and I said to him, I don't understand why when black people do something violent, the people come out with black people are violent. But then when white people do, a lot of white people do pretty much just the same thing. And this one friend was talking about Africa a little while ago. But the wars in Africa, oh, black African people, oh my God, they this, they that. They always fighting each other. It's tribal war, tribal war. And then I have to stop and remind him what I said to you before. I said, well, when the white Catholics was killing the white Protestant, isn't that a tribal war? It's not the same. Well, I don't know in your eyes, but in my eyes, it looks the same to me. So I got a text. I was at work, and I got a text from this same white friend. He said he was watching. What was that? Was that the Grammys? I don't know what he was watching. He was watching the Oscars. He was watching the Oscars. He says, Oh wow, Will Smith just slapped Chris Rock. And then I read online what went on and blah 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 and what happened, and I didn't see the show. I'm only going by bits and pieces of what I read and what he said to me. And I had mentioned to him about bringing coming up in the 60s. When I was coming up in the 60s in the hood, there's two things you don't talk about. You don't talk about a person's mother, and you don't talk about their wives. Or those are fighting words. When you say somebody your mama, those are fighting words. And of course, he laughed and said, "Oh, that's so stupid. That's so this and blah 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 blah." But then again, I'm thinking, well, what the fuck is going on over there in Ukraine and Russia? Oh, that's not the same. To me, it's the same. I don't know about anybody else. To me, it's the same. I mean, yeah, I'm quite sure it's more monetary. I mean, I'm not that stupid. I'm quite sure money is involved and all other things involved. But when you talk about violence, violence is violence on any level. And it has no racial whatever. No one race is more violent than another race. I'm gonna be honest. To be honest with you, I think one race may have more power to be extremely more violent than some races. But you know, anyway, that was my rant to my friend to the point that I was going to stop being his friend. And I had to stop and think that, as another black friend of mine said to me, sometimes we have to teach them. And I don't know, it's a lot of teaching. It's how they perceive things. I had one friend, and one white friend I said I stopped talking to. He's been, well, he was my friend ever since the 70s. He said something very interesting to me back then, and we were talking about the N word. How I think they started it back then about not saying the N word. So he says to me, he laughs and says, "Oh, okay, so we're not going to use the N word." So he says to me, "You don't think white people sitting around the dinner table don't call you people the N word?" And I said, "Well, for one thing, as long as they keep it to themselves, I couldn't care less what they call us. And that's me. As long as they don't call me. First of all, I've never had the problem with that word anyway. I think I had a podcast on this. I never had a. I mean, somebody would back then would have used that word or call me that name. If I wouldn't pay, I didn't even know they was calling me that name because I don't. That name, that word never trigger anything in me because it just doesn't mean anything to me. I'm not that. That's like saying That's back then when somebody says, "Hey you." There used to be a lot of that. Hey you. You know. And I know some people say, "I got a name." Well, when I back then, if I hear somebody say, "Hey you," I keep on going because hey, my grandmother would say, "Hay is not for horses." Hay is for horses. Well, anyway, that's my little rant. You know, yes, I'm still his friend. I'm gonna try to teach him. But when most people get in their 70s, you can't teach an old dog new tricks. And a lot of white people I know, they got this black stereotypic attitude. As soon as something happened, they go, "Oh, black people are this or black people are that," and it's very stereotypical. And I have to keep reminding them, listen, white people do this and white people do that. I don't see you. What's the difference? Just because it's racial? Now, I had one white boy said to me, yeah, I use the word boy. I had one white man said to me, "Well, it's not the same because ratio wise." Well, I don't know what ratio wise mean anything to me. I mean, what's the difference? I mean, let's say there's 1,000 blacks in the neighborhood, and let's say 999 of them may act a certain way, and that one black that don't act that way, and what you gonna say? There's something wrong with that one black? Ratio wise, it is what it is. It's stereotypical. White people do it too. Asian do it too. All the races do it, not just black Americans. This is Eric, and thank you for listening to the craziness that lives inside my head.